Hello, how are you? I am Nikita,
And I'm Will.
and this is the Say How You Feel podcast. And on the Say How You Feel podcast, we assist budding entrepreneurs with getting clear about what they need to do to be successful on their journey by interviewing entrepreneurs who have already started their journey, who have gone through the punches and all the things. And we ask them questions that give us inspiration, motivation, and hopefully will inspire you to continue on or even just start your journey. So today we are going to be interviewing Jermaine Clemmons. Who is the owner of Worthy of the Crown LLC. But before I tell you more about him, we're going to pay some bills. So we'll be right back. This episode is sponsored by Say How You Feel Custom T shirts. Need to express yourself, your business, your church, or organization? Contact Say How You Feel for custom t shirts, socks, hoodies, mugs, and more. Allow Say How You Feel custom t shirts to help you be your own billboard. Contact them by texting 615-839-0788 or emailing sayhowyouFeel1, that's say how you feel with the number one, at gmail.com. And we're back. So, Jermaine Clemmons is the owner of Worthy of the Crown LLC, a lifestyle clothing brand dedicated to encouraging individuals through fashion. It is based out of Hendersonville, Tennessee, and it specializes in creating unique, high quality designs that celebrate self expression and personal growth. He is an Army veteran with a passion for inspiring youth. He's cultivated a brand that resonates deeply with the community. Outside of running Worthy of Crown, Jermaine enjoys engaging in personal development activities, supporting local initiatives, and sharing their journey and insights, and sharing his journey and insights on various platforms, including podcasts, to inspire others to embrace their true selves. So, without further ado, I introduce to you Jermaine Clemmons.
Thank
Hello. Thank you for being with us today. We truly greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with us. And I don't do the pretense and all the things. We just get right into it. Okay. We're going to jump right in. So, you're a veteran who has a heart for the community. You could have gone in so many different directions, with a business. What made you settle on a clothing brand?
Actually, this is the good story. Being a creative, because I just like creating and I like doing stuff with my hands and stuff like that. So, actually, my daughter, this was way when she was about 7 years old.
Okay.
Uh, we were having a conversation about art, just drawing and all those types of things. And she asked me, well, no, I was telling her about that I can draw.
Okay.
Your kids don't believe, that you had a former life or anything like that before being a
Right.
mom or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I can draw. And her favorite character was SpongeBob. So I actually drew her a picture of SpongeBob, and she loved it, and she wanted it on a T-shirt. So I actually went to Walmart or
Hmm.
somewhere and just bought some iron-on transfers and put the picture that I draw of SpongeBob on the T-shirt, and then that just spawned from there. A character here, character there, type of thing. Just for her, and that's the genesis of the brand. Just when it comes to
Okay.
clothing, and then of course moved into different things, but from there, I wanted to learn how to screen print and how this clothing thing works. And I went to a local shop. Shout out to Mr. Feeney out in Clarksville.
Hmm.
I don't even know if he's still there actually. But I went in one day and was like, "Hey, I would like to learn about screen printing. Can I intern here? If you need to, know who I am, need some references, I can give you those. I just want to learn. You don't have to pay me anything." He was like, "Oh, of course." So
Okay.
uh, doing a little interning and everything just kind of started out, and then just kind of start building from there. So that's how it got into clothing. Starting out with my daughter wanting a picture of SpongeBob, and just kind of going from there.
That is so cool that you were able to that her wanting the picture of SpongeBob on a t-shirt inspired you to go a little bit further. Do you recommend that individuals do internships like you did? Like that shows like great initiative that you even forethought that you were like, you know what, I need to learn how to do screen printing at that. But that, finding someone that you can intern with. Would you recommend that people do that if that's something that they really want to do?
Oh, absolutely. I would always recommend that because you can get into a mode and you can find out if you really like the thing that you're
Right.
doing. You
Right.
know, you can reach out to people, and surprisingly, people are willing to help more than people give them credit for. As
Mhm. Mhm.
people think people want to gatekeep information and things like that. But if you actually go and approach people, in a professional way, you have to
Right.
respect time and all those things, and let them know what you want out of the this interaction. Most people are more than willing to help you out. They need some help. A lot of times
Right. Right.
you're willing to do that grunt work and everything, you can go. My next endeavor actually is I have a buddy that's in film, that's a director and everything. I had been texting him and trying to get in contact with him. So I reached out to a mutual friend. I was like, man, where's XYZ at?
Mhm.
Where? Oh man, he's on his way to New York. He got a video in the Tribeca Film Festival. I was like, oh, that's
Wow.
nice.
Okay.
You yeah, so and I was like, okay, let him know I'm trying to reach out to him. So he hit me back. And so because I sent him a message like, hey man, I'm interested in doing some internship, maybe learning about the process of directing, the process of just getting a recording started, what all you need to
Mhm.
do. You
Mhm.
need He was like, "Yeah, of course. I got some things coming up. I'll reach out to you, and when I get back to Nashville and everything." So I would always recommend trying to get into whatever field that you're going into, and just reaching out to people, and they'll be more than willing to help or have resources
Mhm.
to help you out. Hey, I know somebody that you could probably intern with, or whatever the case may be. So to answer your question, definitely, if you can always get into some type of internship, it helps out a whole lot.
So the theme that's running here is networking. So did you say that you knew the individual in Clarksville before you reached out to him, or you did some research and you found him?
Well, I actually knew this person before, but it all started with networking, though.
Okay.
You- 'Cause it started way back. I knew a person that
Uh-huh.
somebody that was doing some video, because this person actually did like my very first commercial for my screen print brand I had called Expressive Designs, and
Okay.
that's where I was just strictly doing screen printing for other people before I had a brand of my own. So
Mm.
I met uh I met him through an artist that I was doing some search for, and he
Okay.
was in school to be a director in Nashville, and he needed to do a project. He was like, "Can I shoot a commercial for you?" And I was
Mm.
like, and so we built a relationship from there. I did shirts when he had a project or something. He'd be like, "Hey, can you screen print some shirts for this artist or whatever?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, yeah." So it just built from there. So networking, I would say, is huge. And I know a lot of people may be introverts or something like that, and
Mhm.
and and, and not comfortable in environments like that. But everybody's there for the same thing, more than likely, to network and everything. So people are understanding. Even if you came out and say, "Yeah, I'm a little nervous, this is my first event, but I want to talk to like 5 people,"
Mhm.
what do you do? And just start off like that. And because this is what networking is, this is the event, and it helps out. So if you can network, you can hit so many different areas and stuff.
That is really good because you answered the next question I was going to ask you, but you answered it. was for those individuals who are nervous or scared to reach out to people, but you answered it right. Because like you said, everybody, whether you individual started, you know, they're just starting themselves, or they're, you know, well into whatever it is that someone wants to get into, but you have to open your mouth, because you know, close, you need, what is it,
Close.
scared money, about scared money.
Oh, scared money don't make no money.
You know, so
Yeah.
you have to, right, you have to open your mouth. It just, because the worst thing, my mother used to always say, the worst thing someone could tell you is no. Not the worst thing, but the only thing they can tell you is no. And that's okay. This person says no, the next person could say yes. So you have to be able to kind of get over your, I'm an introvert, so I understand, how to get over yourself and keep moving forward, because it'll keep you stuck and stagnant.
And I tell my daughter that. I tell my daughter that all the time, and my daughter's 24 now, and
Oh wow.
it's just amazing to me when I see her interacting and doing things that we've talked about. So like negotiating, I like to do that. So when I see her, we go out somewhere, or she wants to buy something and she negotiates or something, it just
Uh-huh.
makes I feel, I'll be like, oh, look at my girl right there,
Right.
type of thing. So yeah, you just have to open your mouth, cause I use that. That's one of my favorite sayings. Closed mouth don't get fed. So you got to ask for
Hmm.
what you want, and like you say, they can say no. Like hey, I was gonna pay this $100 for this item anyway, but can I get it for less? If you agree to it, great. If not, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and pay what I was gonna pay anyway.
Right,
So
right.
so you have to be willing to say something.
Exactly. What's the worst thing that could happen if you try? And you mentioned your daughter is 24. I love these young people, because you know, you think back to when we were that age. I don't think a lot, some of us, yes, but a lot of us weren't as bold as they are. Like they know who they are. They are so self-assured. And I think we went through enough to teach them to be the self-confidence, have the self-assurance. And then what you said is true, to see them be able to walk in that and do it is amazing. Because when we are able to go to vending events, and our daughter goes with us, and she has her own business, she's such a salesperson, like, but not salesy, but she's such a salesperson. She just talks to the people, and she has them giggling, and while they're giggling, they're buying stuff. So yeah, I totally get that and understand it. It is very true.
Yeah, this generation. Let me say this before we move on to the next question about this generation, because they get a bad rap sometime. Also, it's older people, like, well, things, when back in my day I had to work all these jobs, I spent all these hours doing.
Hmm.
Kids are not the same. They lazy. They want to play video games and scroll on, all this. And I just tell people, like, times are changing. You can make a dollar so many different ways. A lot of older people don't know anything about social media and content, and how valuable just information is and all that type of stuff. So we definitely have to, get out of that mindset that these kids are not doing a lot, because it takes a lot. I know, like me, editing a video ain't no easy task. It's
Right,
time consuming and all that. So you have to be disciplined and you have to be consistent to do whatever you want to do. Whether you're young or old, it's just a
right.
different animal nowadays with the things that we have to do, or the challenges that we have and everything. So yeah, give these kids a break. They out there doing their thing.
Right. They're doing it, and they're doing it well, and on a scale, a faster scale than we would have been able to at their age. But it's because of the tools that they have available. And all we have to do, like you said, is just take advantage of the tools that are available now. You mentioned that you started out screen printing, and the name of the business was Expressive Screen Printing.
Expressive designs.
Expressive Designs. So, how did you move from that, and what was the inspiration behind the company name that you have now, Worthy of the Crown?
Well, so because I was doing so many people's brand and everything, I get some of everything from an artist coming through, say, hey, can you do this? Or some clothing. So it's basically, I'm the guy that puts the designs on the shirt for your brand. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, I have ideas. I wanna do my own thing. I don't I want to express myself, through these, through some type of design or whatever the case may be. So I was like, I'm gonna try my hand at just doing my own brand, doing my own
Okay.
thing and everything. So that's kind of where I stepped out and was like, okay, I want to empower and encourage people. I want to empower. So that's what our brand is about: empowering and encouraging people to take real action in their lives, to move from where they are to where they want to be. So I just say, worthy of the crown is that best friend that's always motivating you. That best friend is just telling you, hey, you can do it, you know, or when you slack and say, hey, you need to step it up. So
Hmm.
that's that's what that's what I always say the brand is. If you walk away from worthy of the crown, or the takeaway when you interact with worthy of the crown, is like, hey, this is that buddy that I need. They talk about your
Hmm.
circle, people around doing stuff that you need. That encouraging, that positive person. That's always telling you you can do it and all that. That's what we are. When you come to us,
Okay.
that's what we are. So. But just the name in itself, you talk about worthy, and just what that means. It's just recognizing, excuse me, it's just recognizing someone or the merit that they have. And I have a shirt that has like the actual definition on it and everything, but
Hmm.
having or showing abilities that warrant recognition in a specific way. That's what the word worthy means. And of course the crown it just represents achievement. So we've all did something that represents or achievement, or that needs to be recognized. You may be a
Hmm.
single that graduated from college or something like that, or you just came through a hard time. It can be a multitude of things. You may have graduated school, you may have started a new business, whatever it is. It's hard out here. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You
Right.
know, but, but everybody doesn't have the discipline or the consistency to keep going. That's what the problem is. So we want to celebrate people that do it.
That is awesome. You said you were saying that that the brand itself is that friend that will give you that motivation and encouragement. And today's scripture, uh for the daily scripture that I read, but it was iron sharpens iron. So when you said that, it made me think of that I love the fact that you have put a tangible spin, I guess you could say, on your clothing brand, right? Because when you think about clothing brands and things like that, it's abstract. It's not something that's tangible like that. But to say that your clothing brand itself is a friend to the person that decides to wear the apparel that you have, that's awesome. That's really cool, and it makes it more personal than just you bought some clothing and you put it on. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so because we want to add value. That's my main
Hmm.
thing. We want to
Hmm.
add value to people's lives. It's not just you putting on a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or anything like that, but we want something that you can take from it. We always say, kind of, come for the encouragement, but stay for the designs, type of thing, because
Hmm.
we on our page, we have a not podcast, but a blog post on my website. So if you go to the blog post section, you can go down through there and you can look at the blog posts and stuff that we post on there, stuff like, let me see, I got 4 things that help you get more done. Um, you know, Learning how to think positive, what are affirmations, um, five pro- five productive hacks for procrastinators, so things like that to help you get through the day, or things that help you achieve your goals and stuff like that. So that's what we all about. And then just the fashion part of it is just you looking good while you're doing what you do. That's the
Hmm.
whole we want you to be all about action and getting out there and doing things, because that's what it's all about. I always the key word will always be action. Putting rubber to the road, feet to the ground type of thing, and getting things happen. getting things happening and stuff like that. And I watched the podcast that you guys did with the lady from Huntsville, I believe, the
Hmm.
Queen or you
Uh-huh.
know, yeah, and it awesome. Just all the things that she was talking about. Just having a plan and mindset. Those are the key things, to being successful in anything.
Hmm.
And it's not just a business. It can be a relationship. You have to have a plan. You have to know where you're going, in order for you to get there. Like they say, if you don't have a destination, any road will take you there.
Right.
So if you if you don't know where you're going, you're gonna end up over here doing whatever.
Right.
Whenever cool comes up or you see something flash across the screen, you're like, oh, there, let me go do that. And
Hmm.
you off spending money and time into something that you really shouldn't even be in, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to benefit you or those around you.
Right.
That's good. That is really good. You mentioned about whether about being in business, and I wanted to know why. And I'm asking this question for the individuals that may be watching that are thinking about going into business and haven't decided which direction to go into yet. But why did you decide to do an LLC rather than an Inc?
Well, so when you get into the LLC and the inks and all those, really is all about tax structure and all that type of stuff, and how much you want to be paid. And I'm
Hmm.
not like super versed in all the tax things and all that type of stuff, so I won't get too deep into the weeds with
Right.
it and anything like that. But I wanted to have a business. Uh, uh, um, a real business on paper, so to speak, because ultimately there were my vision on down the line was to grow, to have the revenue. I want to be starting out now. I'm like, okay, I want to be a $500,000 type of business, in like 5 years. Hopefully I can scale that high and everything. But I knew just having a business structure and everything, that was something that I would needed to do. Because what I always see is, and I've done this too, I'm just trying to hold on to pennies and stuff like that, when because you'll have people, like, well, I don't want to be a business because Uncle Sam is gonna take taxes and all this type of stuff, and I don't want to make it official. I just want to take cash under the table and all that. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm trying to go farther than this. I'm trying to get grants. I'm trying to get all type of money and stuff like that, from all these services that are out there and everything. And
Hmm.
I have structured and I have to know what I'm doing and keeping records and stuff like that. So when I go to a bank and say, hey, can I have, $50,000 or $100,000, they can look at my records and say, okay, you've made this much revenue and this and that. Where some people are like, well, I just get paid under the table and just kind of be stuck there. Not everybody, but it does happen where it's like I want to save and not pay taxes or do this and that,
Right.
so I keep this little bit of money. But when I go ask for a big amount of money, I want them to see the records of I'm making this revenue, and that way it can translate into more money, and I can do more versus staying, kind of down here. And then the LLC has the being able to separate, your personal stuff from the business stuff, which is
Hmm.
and and those are kind of the reasons why I went with the LLC and everything. But when you get into like S corps and all that type of stuff, it's
Hmm.
just about how much you have to be paid yourself, how taxes are going to be filed, and all that type of stuff. So
Very good. Thank you for answering that question. I greatly appreciate it. I think it helps some folks out there. So we thank you. Look, no, no advice was being given in regards to how you need to structure your business, but just asking why he chose to do his. If you're thinking about the same thing, of course, you should always seek out professional advice if you need that. All right. Okay. There's our disclaimer. So, so I wanted to ask because you mentioned you have a website. So do you still do or did you ever vending events? Do you still do vending events?
Oh, well, recently I've just started back doing vending events because I
Okay.
got away from it a little bit, and but actually I don't know what the date was, but the last Nashville Black Market in
Mm-hmm.
Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was there for that. So it's the first Friday of every month. So whatever the first Friday of July was, that's I was there. The fifth, matter of fact, because it was right after the Fourth of July. So it was the
Right.
fifth.
Right.
And I was there, and I'm looking at to do that event again next month, and just looking at how many events and stuff that we have in the area because it's good for to get noticed. You get a lot of foot traffic depending on the event, so you can get a lot of eyes on your brand and stuff like that. So I would encourage people to do vending events as many as they can afford, and and be prepared. Be prepared to give your brand story. Be prepared to tell people about your brand. Answer any questions. You'll get questions about quality of your products. Will they
Mm.
shrink? Will they shrink when they get washed and dried? Those types of questions. How long is the print going to last? Tell me a little bit about your business. So all those things you need to be prepared to answer. And I made like a post on my TikTok page just giving tips about that. um, know your brand. Know your brand. Practice your pitch, all that type of stuff, so you can rattle that information off. And you never know who you're in front of.
Right.
You could be some big executive or something like that like what you got.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
always be prepared.
I love that because, and again, you said I was about to ask you, but you said it about practicing your pitch, and that's what I was going to ask. What advice would you give about cultivating your story? But you said it but that before you go to the event, you have to first of all you have to know your why, and I think what is so important. And I don't know if everybody does it, is that you need to write it down. You need to have some type of journal, notebook, or whatever dedicated to your business, and you start out, what is my why, and literally answer the question, because that your why is your company's story, and that's the story you have to cultivate. Right, you got 60 seconds or less to catch somebody, and you're going to do all that. You're going to, in that time, that's what you're doing, is you're telling them your why, which is your company's or your brand's story. And it has to be appealing and hook them, because in that story you got to be able to tell you're solving the problem that they may have with it. Like your brand is motivation and inspiration, and somebody they might need to wear their motivation and inspiration on them in order to keep going and be able to tell their story to other people. This is who I am. So
Right.
I love that. I'm glad that you said that you have to have your, as you said, your pitch ready to tell people, because they will, whether they buy or not. Even if they don't buy from you that day, if you have your business cards or your flyers or whatever to give to them, because that's what we do. Even if you don't buy, you're getting a business card and or a
Yep.
flyer,
Yep.
because we don't want you to forget us. We want you to go buy. We want you. Here's our story, but in case you're thinking, I need some natural soap or I need t-shirts, here's the card. You got the card, so you can come back and hopefully, purchase, because you something we said resonated with you. I wanted to ask, because you're starting back doing the vending events, and you have the website and things. Are you doing this full time, or are you still doing a 9 to 5 as well?
Yeah, I'm still doing a 9 to 5 as well. So eventually I definitely want to do it full time. I did it full time years ago. When
Mm-hmm.
I went just to screen print, just the expressive designs. I did it full time for about a year and a half, and I learned so much in that year and a half, just about the planning process, trying to scale stuff, having processes in place, you know, um, seasons, holidays, all
Mm-hmm.
these that go into running a business year round. Like I was clueless about, okay, it's starting to get wintertime. I'm still just pushing just t-shirts or whatever, or screen printing that, type of thing, or what field, because I was mostly into sports. So I kind of narrowed my thing down to just doing sports stuff. you know. And so, like, okay, the seasons are changing. It is no more, soccer or football, all those things,
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, you gotta get focused on what you're doing and planning this thing out. Like I was just flying by the seat of my pants, pretty much.
Okay.
So so now I would definitely be in a better space once I get the revenue there to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can quit this 9 to 5 and just do this wholeheartedly and stuff like that. And that's what I would love to do. And just to kind of piggyback off of that, because your 9 to 5 boy to steal your dreams in a minute. They you know they want their time. They'll call overtime. They'll do this and do that.
Mhm.
You have to protect. You have to protect your dream. And you have to
Right.
go that extra mile. You have to go that. When you get off that time off that you have and you tired, you still have to push through and do what you need to do. You know, because I also another saying I like to tell people, because I get oh man, I didn't work, these many hours throughout the week. I just want to chill on the weekend.
Mhm.
It's hard. I just want to sit back and relax for a little bit and get my mind right. You can't use the weekend to escape the life that you have. You need to use the
Right.
weekend to build the life that you want. So
That's
you
good.
yeah, you can't just say, all right, I'm just gonna sit back and because they piss me off on the job and be upset about it and just wanna chill out and not do something that's cultivating whatever your dream is. So
Right.
you have to go for it. Like that's my motivation, and
Mhm.
I have buddies that I work with that we do stuff together and and he's like, yeah, I'm tired and I don't want to do this and do that. And bro, that's my motivation. Like if I'm
Mhm.
tired, then I got to get this so I don't have to be over here doing this, being so
Right.
tired. So I'm gonna work on this type of thing. So
Right.
yeah.
That's good. I I've heard this, and I've told a coworker this recently, that that we've got to stop allowing our 9 to 5s to live rent free in our head, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, because when you leave that job at 5 o'clock or whatever time you get off,
Hmm.
just that you
Yeah.
close the door behind you or it slide close behind you, whatever happened in there is in there. And then I've got to start thinking about, okay, I gotta come up do these t-shirt designs, I gotta send quotes, I gotta organize this soap, I gotta see who ordered, I gotta get the orders ready, da, 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 da. So all of what you said is very true, right? We have to leave that behind, because if we want to really leave it behind, we got to refocus and regroup after we get through with those people jobs. Like you
Yeah.
said, whatever made us mad or whatever, you know what? That's them people job. Somebody's
Oh,
going to inherit that. They could fire us tomorrow, and they'll have a replacement
exactly.
ready,
Exactly.
ready. So
Exactly.
we've got to figure out what it is that we're going to do. Sometimes I'm a little envious of people who they're not they don't do the entrepreneur thing. Because I'm like, you know what? I want to do that. I just want to take Saturday and just lay in the bed to 12 o'clock. But then some say, girl, you do that, you're gonna be real upset at yourself when those orders aren't coming in and all the things. So yeah, you have to regroup and focus and make sure you have people around you who will not tell you you're doing too much. No, you're probably not doing enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And yeah, so because when you have the people around you that understand what it takes, it makes a difference, because sometimes people don't understand the grind that goes into being an entrepreneur and still having a 9 to 5 and all those things.
mhm,
And just don't get it and wonder why you're working so hard when hey, let's go out and let's go to the club or let's go and drink or let's go smoke or let's go do whatever, that's taken away from what you're trying to do because they're not trying to do that. So they can do those things and they wonder
right.
why you can't. So that's why plan is important, you know,
Hmm.
to have that plan and understand where you're going and what it's going to take to get there, you know. Um, so yeah, so if you definitely want to be surrounded by good people.
Exactly. I have one last question for you, and then I want you to share with us how we can follow you, contact you on your website and all the things. But the question is, if you had one chance to inspire someone considering starting a clothing brand, what would you say to them?
Oh man, if I had one thing, let me see. I would say I would say be authentic. I would say be authentic in whatever endeavor that you're doing when it comes to a clothing brand. You know, be yourself. Don't chase the trends. You know, don't necessarily chase the trends. If you want to have a long standing brand, you
Hmm.
know, you can, you know, look at some of the things that are happening in the industry, but not necessarily saying, okay, this one thing happened, so I'm gonna pile on it. Because then
Hmm.
you will always be that thing. You'll always be trying to chase trends versus saying, okay, this is who I am. You mentioned the why, so this is why I'm doing it. And then let me tailor everything that I'm doing around that foundation, you know. Uh, because our new drop that's going to be coming out August the 15th, you know, shameless plug here, but we want to go with some pop culture stuff, but also incorporate some of the principles of the brand. So we're going to do, and I only did like three designs, and that's another thing. You don't have to go out and create 50 million different types of designs and stuff like that. You can just keep it basic.
Hmm.
Really no more than four is what you need, in my opinion. Uh, but we were but it's determination, confidence, and greatness are the three things that we talk about in this next drop. And we did and I just chose some people, that people would recognize with for those traits,
Okay.
and I so 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 the shirts are gonna look, and I may send you all just photos of it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna send y'all some merch once it drops and everything.
Oh,
Um, but yeah. So it'll be, I'm like Kobe when it comes to determination. I'm like Mike when it comes to greatness, and I'm like Kanye when it comes to confidence and stuff like that. So using these people and everything, and having those words be prevalent in the design and everything, and so that's what we're doing. So I would just say your passion, be authentic in whatever you're doing when you start your clothing brand, and know why you're starting it. Kind of who you're targeting. That's a whole nother thing to talk about. Just
hmm.
about your demographic. You know how they consume their information, how they shop. All these things that go into coming up with a brand and marketing your brand and promoting your brand and all that stuff. So authenticity would be the thing, and knowing your why when you start a clothing brand.
I love that. I love all of that, especially about knowing your audience.
Yeah,
Who are you selling to? Because you can't be arbitrary. You have to
right,
know specifically who you're selling to be sure that what you're creating is something that they would consume.
right.
Because while we're solving a problem and while we're serving the people, we actually want them to consume it.
Mhm.
Nay, we want the consumers to come to us to purchase our products. So yeah, totally awesome. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. You dropped some really good nuggets. Totally enjoyed it. We're gonna have to have you back. But before we go, I wanted to ask you if you could provide like your website, your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or whatever social medias you have that everybody can follow you on and visit you.
Okay, yeah. If you want to go to the website is worthyofthecrownllc.com. Um, the TikTok and the Instagram are Worthy of the Crown LLC. So you can go there for that. And when it comes to Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, it's Worthy OT Crown over there on those platforms. Uh, but yeah, I try to make everything the same. So Worthy of the Crown LLC on the
Mhm.
website, Instagram. and everything, and then Worthy OT Crown on Twitter and Facebook. And also it's just different information on those platforms and everything.
Okay.
Because when you get over on Facebook, I have more kind of in-depth videos where I do like a 5 or 10 part series that you can watch, and the videos are usually like about a minute or two long for each one of them, where it may be like, like I say, just some of the topics that I have on my blog post, where it talks about mindset or procrastination or fashion empowering you, your self-esteem, all these type of things. So you'll find videos over there on Facebook, long form, just more than you can post on like an Instagram or
Right.
TikTok
Right.
and stuff like that. And the same thing on the YouTube channel and stuff, trying to have that information and stuff out there. So you can get different nuggets from different places. So if you check them out, if you're interested more in some long form type of information, you can look at YouTube and Facebook pages. But just quick hitters, like
Mhm.
TikTok, that type of stuff, you can get some of that stuff over there. But yeah.
Okay, I love that. We're gonna have to have you back on to talk about that, how you're using social media in that way. Because I love the fact about the blog post and how you're doing the like the 10 part series you're talking about on Facebook or whatnot. Yeah, we got to have you come back and talk about that. I think that that would be really uh that would be good for people to understand how you can use those platforms in that way, just not continuously selling, but really providing worthwhile information
Yeah.
to your customers or
Yeah.
individuals that consume your information. Yeah, I like that. So we're going to have you back. So that's your invitation.
Say, yeah, it's so much, other stuff, that we can go into that we can, I can talk for hours, but, but so I appreciate, just having me on and, just reaching out and everything. And I love what y'all doing and everything. And just keep on going, doing what you're doing.
Thank you. We greatly appreciate it. And we, again, really do appreciate having you here today. And we look forward to talking to you again. I'm writing notes now. So that I sent you an email to tell you what we're going to talk about again and see what your availability is. So you have something to say, mister?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna talk as okay.
Okay. So so thank you again for joining us. We will definitely be sure to put all of the information in the description box so that you can follow Jermaine, so you can visit his website and interact with him and all of the things. So as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And before we get out of here, we want to pay some bills. We're going to pay some bills. Okay, go ahead. We're going to pay some bills. Okay. This episode is sponsored by Just You Soap Company, making moisturizer nourishing, refreshing bath and body products for the whole family. And don't forget about Yanni bars, made to assist the ladies with all their feminine hygiene needs. Visit them at Just You Soap Company.
That's okay. We
All
can have
right,
a whole
so
MFA film. You can fix it later.
so that's all
You
we
have
got
degrees
today,
in
guys.
editing film. You can fix
You
it
can
later.
fix it.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much again for joining. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And be sure to follow Jermaine on all social media platforms. Thank you again and have an awesome day.
Peace. Y'all be blessed.
Uh,